Welcome to the Latched On Podcast. The Latched On Podcast is about the outdoors in Appalachia. Everything from hunting, fishing, camping, hiking, bushcraft, and woodsmanship, and digging into the depths of what makes this area of Appalachia so unique as a whole. It's time to strap in for the Latched On Podcast. Guys, welcome to another episode of Latched On Podcast. Andrew here with Zac, another fellow hunter and enthusiast about gear, hunting, and what we're going to talk about is bows, which he is a much bigger nerd about bows than I am, but I'm slowly getting to his level on the mountain. So, bows.
Yeah, buddy. I have a bad habit of getting everybody else addicted to it. So they don't mind it, but their wives usually do.
Yeah, like I bought a PSE Nova for like $100, like almost 10 years ago, and I never used it. I used it my first hunting season like 4 years ago, and I sold it. Bought a Matthews Triax for like $700 at Beverly's,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, something about that bow. Maybe how smooth it was and the vibration cut off and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I just love shooting it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with, like Andrew said, I'm an absolute gear nut in general, but I have a oddly weird obsession with archery in general. So, but I will caveat before I get into anything. I don't care what brand you use or how much you spend on any of your gear equipment. I just want people to hunt ethically and get into archery just for fun. So if you buy, like you said, $100 bow, and that's what you start with, I'm all for it. I don't care what you pay for your stuff. So that's cool. And I want everybody to get into it. So I don't think just because I geek out and I spend a stupid amount of unmentionable money on archery and my bows and arrows and everything that you have to. I'm a big advocate for people to get the Bear Archery Products bows. That's what the Hunt Public guys use, and that they've been known for years to be a working man's bow. So if you just want
Archery, great price, great bows.
Yep. American company. If you want a good bow that you can kill animals with and take hunting, that's absolutely, that's all you need. You don't have to have Matthews, Hoyt, or anything else.
No.
And I talk a lot about Matthews because that's kind of what I've transitioned to, because that's what I shoot well. I used to shoot, I've shot Hoyt, I've shot PSEs. So what I recommend to anybody that wants to get into it is go to a good pro shop and shoot different bows without thinking, well, the guy I likes Matthews, or Andrew and Zac shoot Matthews, or whatever the case is. Shoot different bows and just think about how they feel. Like Andrew was saying, he likes the Matthews because they're dead in hand. That's what one of the things Matthews is known for, is how vibrate. And every year their technology is improving that that dampening technology.
See, what I like about it is the Triax, doing research on it, that was when Matthews like made a new foundation on dampening and vibration control and everything that's been made since then has been nothing but an improvement on it.
Yep.
And I shot the Triax first time I shot it. I just went back to that little indoor shooting thing that they have at Beverly's, shot the first arrow, and I was like, how much does it cost? I got my card right now. Because one shot and I was sold, because nothing down in the PSE Nova, because like I said, it's affordable. PSE makes great bows, but whereas PSE Nova, it was a little old. It shot well, but it was like it jarred you every time it shot. And there's nothing wrong with that. It was something I wasn't comfortable with. And then of course I got the Matthews, and there's no vibration, and it's so quiet.
Oh yeah.
That's one thing I loved about it. I heard the arrow hit the target. I didn't even hear the bow move.
Yeah, that's the way mine is now. My release going off and the arrow hitting the target's louder than my bow actually. The going off. Like I said, I was shooting a Hoyt. I actually shot a Hoyt all last season, and The Hoyt was louder, but Hoyts have a lot of things going for them too. Their hand shock's not terrible. It's not as good as the Matthews when it comes to dampening, but they're not bad. However, the Hoyts are the one I had was fast because it was about an 10 or 11-year-old bow, and it was still shooting just some ridiculous speeds.
I'm about to say the pullback on it was quick, wasn't it? Like
Uh,
the draw,
yeah,
or
I mean,
was it?
I was only shooting like 62 pounds on it too.
Right.
That's as high as I could go. That's the limbs I'd bought when I was younger when I bought that bow. And actually got it from Colgard and had it set up there. And it was only shooting 62 pounds, but it was shooting. I mean, it hit hard. It was a thumping bow. So I mean, like I said, it doesn't matter what brand. But like I said, I geek out. But I did get that. I had a V3X at the end of season, and then I traded them both in and got the new Matthews Phase 4 that they just released last November.
That's a big thing I've heard a lot of buzz about is the Matthew Phase 4.
Oh, it's a thing, man. It's I'll say like it's a pleasure to shoot. Don't shoot one if you don't want one. I'll just put that out there.
Yeah, I built one I think back in November when they first came out on Matthew's website. And you know, they always tell you, oh, find a dealer and they'll print you off a page and look for a quote, and I'm like, whenever they say that, it means it's really expensive.
Yeah, that's what it depends what dealer you go to. I know the MSRP on them. So when I'm talking about it, I'm mainly going to be talking about the 29 inch. They make it in a 29 and a 33. 33 is if you have a very long draw length, like I would say north of 30, 31, north of that. Or if you're like a Western hunter and you're going to be taking 60 plus yard shots normally on big game, okay, yeah, you're going to look at the 33. But we're on the East Coast here. We're looking at 99% whitetail hunting with it, maybe turkey hunting out of a blind, and then maybe occasionally every couple of years getting to take a Western hunt for elk or antelope or something like that.
Or a bear hunt.
Or a bear hunt, yeah, absolutely. So I'm primarily going to be talking about the 29-inch axle to axle length. But the MSRP, I think on their website, it's like 12 or 13. But when you go to your local shop, I can say most of your local shops actually get the bows cheaper than that. And that's brand new. Like, it ain't like they're used or nothing. And you can get them for, because I didn't pay that for mine. Mine wasn't as much as the MSRP was. So shout out to the Beverly Archery Gun and Pawn down in Coburn, Virginia, because Aaron down there, he takes good care of you. And he definitely knows his stuff when it comes to archery in general. And he's primarily a Matthews dealer. He does carry Hoyt. I can't remember all the other brands he carries. I don't want to speak and be incorrect, but I know he carries Hoyt and Matthews for sure. He can order you pretty much anything you want as well. So if you have something else you want, but give him a shout, and he knows what he's doing when he tunes your bows and gets you set up completely. He can order you about any arrow set if you want to. But yeah, that's where I went. I got one that's completely murdered out. Everything on it's black, and I kept the black zebra strings.
Yeah, you sent me a picture of it when you got it done, and I was like, "That's some sexy."
It's pretty
sexy looking bow.
It's pretty sweet. I love camos too, but that just completely all black was pretty slick. I thought.
Yeah, it looks great. So like, the best thing I figured out for bows is what I want to talk about also is how to stay in that mindset or in that muscle memory skill set of bow hunting all year round. Like you only got 3 months to bow hunt really in Virginia, and the big thing I want to say is what do you do after bow season to stay fresh? Because if you want to be good at it, you can't just practice a couple weeks beforehand or like I'm going to shoot 4 arrows, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, I'm good to go bow hunt.
That's what that's an old timer thing. A lot of old guys that don't care about archery, they just did it so they could have more hunting time. They'll just get a cheap bow, and nothing wrong with that. They'll get an inexpensive bow and they'll just shoot a week, 2 weeks before season, make sure it's still sighted in. They can shoot to 40 and they're done. And not talking bad about anybody that chooses to do that, but I guarantee you'll probably have more missed shots, wounded deer, harder track jobs if that's your mentality behind it. And that's just my personal opinion. If you don't like it, that's fine. You don't have to train it year round like I do, but that's just what I like to do. So if you decide to trade up or you just want to get into archery in general, I always suggest to do it in the spring. Most people start around the April, May timeframe right after turkey season. If you're a psychopath like me, you start as soon as season's over. I'm already tuning.
Yeah.
I'm already doing my stuff. So I've already got my new bow right after the new year, and already working on it. I got a new set of arrows, but you need to fine tune your setups. If you want to change sights, now's the time to do it. If you want to change arrow setups, now's the time to do it. You get all that stuff dialed in now to where you have months and months to figure it out. And if you want to try a different release, I know a lot of people are going to thumb releases or hinges and stuff. It's an expensive hobby, and you can dive into it. But a lot of your pro shops, you can go in and try stuff too. So if you want to try a thumb release instead of spending $200 on one, you can go to your local shop. Like I guarantee, if you go down there to Aaron at Beverly's, you say, "Hey, can I try a thumb release?" He's going to take you over there. He's going to open one right out of the package, let you try it, and you can be like, "Hey, I could probably get into this," or "No, it's not for me." Right. And that way, you're not in it a bunch, But treat those guys good too, because they're taking time out of their day to help you with that. So, but yeah, so I stick with it. I'm getting my new bow and new arrow setups sighted in right now, and I also practice what people call like blind bell shooting to get your form down. So your form is more important than anything. And if you get good archery form and you become a better archer, I guarantee you'll become a better gun shooter in general, whether that's with rifle, shotgun, and handguns if you're into that too. Because if you can go through the whole shot process every single time that you're shooting an arrow, then when you pick up a gun, which is easier than shooting a bow, you're going to be better and you're going to be more accurate, and it's going to teach you more.
Yeah, a thing I've noticed about bow shooting in general is it's not pulling it back and just shooting. Because I used to shoot recurve for a long time.
Yeah, instinctive. It's a lot of instinctive.
Doing Boy Scout camp, 4-H camp, you'd always go to the archery class at summer camp or something like that, and I would always do it. And recurve bow shooting, pull it back, shoot. You're pretty much aiming as you're shooting, and compound, you got to think about it. It's more about control. And, with rifle shooting, you're shooting at the end of every breath and all that stuff. You got to control your breathing and all that stuff. With a bow, it is amplified 150 times thousands more. Because you got to, when you hold your bow, now the best thing I love about them sights with the little levels on it, you don't have that level, and your bow's just tilted a little bit to the right or left. It affects that shot so much.
Yeah. Inches, like missing deer inches, or wounding deer inches.
Heart shot to gut shot type misses.
Yep. Yeah, and that's just for your level. That's just your level. That's just your bubble level in the sight. That's it. So that's what you get simplified as like firearm shooting. It's sight picture, breathing, trigger squeeze. That's not like 99% of your shooting is that.
And that's why 99% of hunters just rifle hunt or muzzle load. Because I made this. And I could be totally wrong on the actual percentage and figures of it, but I always look at it as if you line up 10 hunters, all 10 will shoot a rifle. 5 of those 10 will shoot a muzzle loader, but only 1 of them will shoot a bow. So there's a lot less bow hunters out there, mainly because I think it's more labor intensive and time intensive to be good at bow hunting.
Yeah, your granddad taught you how to shoot, and then you grab one shell, you walk out, you make sure your scope's still sighted on your rifle and your black powder,
shoot an old milk jug or a tree stump, and if you hit it, you're good enough.
Yep, and you go on, and that's it. You don't have to practice because you were taught that. It's a lot easier to just be good at it. Archery, you have to put in that time if you want to be good at it, and you either do it or you don't. There's no in between. Like there's no halfway, half out with archery. And you don't have to buy expensive stuff, but you can take an old bow and practice with it. That's what I did last summer. I had that old Hoyt. It was an 11-year-old bow, but I was shooting 80, 90-yard shots and grouping with it, and that's just because that's what I was wanting to do. And do I take that shot at animals or just deer, whitetail deer? Absolutely not. But if I can group at 80 yards when I have a deer at 30. It makes a chip shot.
Yeah, big thing is like a minor mistake, 40 yards compared to 80 yards is literally,
it amplifies your
almost
mistake.
feet.
Yeah, it amplifies your mistake without a doubt, and you can adjust those. So we talked about just the firearms as sight picture, trigger squeeze, and breathing. Archery is your grip on the bow. So just if you torque it or not. if the bow's level or not, your sight picture, your breathing, and then it's a little difference than a trigger squeeze. It's more of a pulling through a shot, so it's the same difference. And on that, and just you're necessarily holding steady and not getting target panic, and then you got to deal with buck fever on top of all of that. You know what I mean? It's even
I don't even call it buck fever. I just call it deer fever. Like
deer fever. Oh yeah, I get amped up over some does, man.
I mean, that's kind of like my mentality about bow hunting in general. And I was one of those guys that I looked at bow hunting as just something I could hunt an extra month for. That's the only reason why I looked at bow hunting for. And then I spiraled down the rabbit hole and just started loving bow hunting or just archery in general. So but I still treat October as a primarily a doe hunting thing. Like I hunt only does. Well, I don't only hunt does, but unless I see something that I like, I won't hunt. I won't hunt a buck or anything like that. And like I'll hunt does, and if I see a big old buck, I'll shoot it. But mostly in October, because in Virginia it's weird, and I don't necessarily agree with it. But I'm not here to talk about policies with hunting seasons and all that stuff. But like, I enjoy hunting does in October because during rifle season you can't hunt them unless you get a special doe tag application, which is only for private property and stuff like that. And that's like $18 for like doe tags. That's more like for a property management thing. But if I could hunt does with a rifle, would I have ever gotten into archery hunting? Maybe, maybe not. Probably would have, because it's still that extra month to hunt. But at the same time, I don't know. It's just one of those rabbit holes. Like I got it to hunt an extra month, and now here I am buying Matthews bows and geeking out over arrows and geeking out over bow shooting sights, stabilizers.
To geek out over stuff. Now's the time to tinker, and that's why I like the elk shaped guys on YouTube. His thing is hashtag ABT, always be tinkering.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I just I just bought some of the method archery arrows, and I like those pretty well. Had some issues with a few inserts pulling out, and they sent me a couple back to fix it and stuff, but I had more than I would like to that actually pulled out. But I'm shooting in some pretty hard dense foam too. I'm shooting in one of the high roller morel targets, the red one, the dice looking targets.
Right.
And then I'll take, and this is just me because like I said, I'm obsessed with the archery thing. I try to look at the people that are the best in the game. So I look at the Cameron Hayneses and the Levi Morgans, those guys, and then like the Dan Staten and the elk shape guys. So like I'll shoot in between workout sets and stuff in my garage at like 5 yards, but I'm working on that shot process. And just like we was talking about how much more is into it. So I try to make every shot like I'm taking a shot on an animal, and that makes it better when I'm in the field and I'm actually trying to just shoot for distance or have fun like that.
I was about to say in between workout sets would actually be a really good idea because you would already have that adrenaline pumping from workout. You'd already be exhausted.
Yep.
And that's a good way to simulate potentially a hunt.
Yep. Hiking up a hill and then you see that big buck, or whatever the case is. I will say though, I usually try not to on like heavy arm or shoulder days, depending on what kind of workout stuff you do. And the reason being is because when you're hunting, you're not really using your arms, if that makes sense. So you are when you shoot your bow, but it's legs and heart rate. So I usually I save that for days I'm doing like squats and deads. And that's just because I don't want to take sloppy shots because my shoulders are fatigued, or risk injury. So that's a big thing on that. So that's just my tip for that.
Another big thing that I've, in conjunction to that, even if, obviously you don't do it on heavy shoulder days, so that's just, you don't want to put any damage on your shoulder pulling back a bow. But like when you're hunting, even when you're in a saddle or a stand and you haven't done nothing for 3 hours, but once you see that deer,
your heart rate just shoots
shooting up. My mentality is if you can do that, if you can shoot at a good target or a 3D target when your legs are shaking after a rough leg day, or your heart rate's already up and that adrenaline's pumping, if you can shoot pretty, good doing that, you can overcome that adrenaline anxiety
Yep,
shooting.
the big dump, and then it helps with that target panic, and that's what I do, a blind bale shooting when I'm doing that. So blind bale shooting is just you're shooting in the target, and you're not actually trying to hit anything but the target. It doesn't matter where you hit on the target. You're not aiming for a specific spot
Right.
like you would be at 20 plus yards. You're just trying to do that shot process from start to finish perfect.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Latched podcast. Stay tuned for part 2 of this episode. We release a podcast episode every 2 weeks here, wherever you listen to your podcasts. We enjoy making them as much as you hopefully enjoy listening to them, and we'll catch you all next time.